Hello everyone and welcome to this new lecture. Today we're going to talk about personal pronouns and possessive adjectives. These are words that we use very frequently in daily language. Therefore, they are common for modern languages, but for Latin too. Let us start with the personal pronouns. So, a personal pronoun is a word that indicates the person who is speaking or performing an action. Therefore, in English, personal pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, you all, they. You can also find their object correspondence, for example, me, him, her, them. These are very important, for example, when we conjugate a verb. And we can understand what they are because they represent the person who is performing the action while we conjugate a verb. And these are part of those words who have a declension in modern languages too. For example, in English, I would be a nominative because it refers to a subject, while me would be an accusative because it is referred to the object. So in Latin, of course, personal pronouns have their own declension, and it is a complete declension with all cases apart from the vocative. Particularly frequent is the third person pronoun, which is is, ea, id, whose declension needs to be memorized. So let's start with the first and second personal pronouns. So we have ego, I, tu, you, nos, we, vos, you all. They have a complete declension, but they are never used in the vocative form. There is no distinction between masculine, feminine, and neuter because these personal pronouns, I, you, we, and you all, imply that we know the gender of the person that we are talking about, and therefore there is no division in gender needed. So I'm going to read the declension of all of them. Ego, mei, mi, me, me. Tu, tui, tibi, te, te. Nos, nostri or nostrum, nobis, nos, nobis. Vos, vostri or vostrum, vobis, vos, vobis. So, as we can see, they are declined like a normal noun. For example, let's take ego. Ego means I, nominative. The genitive is a genitive of possession, of me, me. The dative would be indirect object, so me, to me. Me is an accusative, so an object, me. And the ablative would be from me, because of me, etc. We know that the ablative can have many meanings. So let's look at a couple of particular features of these personal pronouns. So with the pronouns nos and vos, you have two forms for the genitive. The form nostri or vostri is used to express the genitive of possession. So for example, if I say your car, which means the car of you all, I would use vostri because it simply indicates possession. While the form nostrum or vostrum is used to express the genitive partitive. For example, if I say some of you all, you would not use vostri, you would use vostrum, because of course you are talking about a quantity of people and therefore you would use the partitive. Another particular aspect is that with the ablative of accompaniment, with me, with us, with you, the preposition cum is not put in front of the word, but is attached at the end as an enclitic. Therefore, you will never find forms like cum me, cum te, cum nobis, or cum vobis, but you will always find mecum, tecum, nobiscum, vobiscum. We realize that this is true, for example, if we look at Spanish. So if in Spanish I say I want to dance with you, you say quiero bailar contigo. And so tigo is basically tecum, what remains in Spanish about the Latin tecum. Let's go to the third person personal pronoun, which is iseaid. So here, instead, the division in genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter, is necessary. Is means he, ea means she, and it means it. So this declension is not usually studied vertically, as we do for every noun, but is usually studied horizontally. And so, for example, you would have for the nominative is, ea, id. So you read the nominative first of all the three genders, and then the same thing for every case. I will read the declension. So let's start with the singular. Is, ea, id, eius, 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 ei, ei, eum, eam, id, eo, ea, eo. Now the plural. I, ea, ea, eorum, earum, eorum, is, is, eos, eas, ea, is. You can also decline them vertically, like a normal noun, but I've studied them like this, with a horizontal declension, and I also think that the book suggests you to do that. But in any case, you can decide to do however you prefer. So as you can see, even here, the declension is the one over normal noun. So is, nominative, he, eius, genitive, of him, ei, dative, to him, so indirect object, eum, him as an object, and eo, from him, because of him, etc. As you can see, some endings are different. For example, the ending of the genitive and dative singular, eius and ei, they are endings that we have never found, but there are some other endings which are kind of familiar to us. For example, the ending of the accusative in eum, eam, or the accusative plural in os and as. Same thing, for example, for the genitive plural, aurum, arum, aurum. So I think that you can help yourself with the endings of the first and second declension while you study it. Another particular feature is that in the plural, some cases have a double form. For example, the masculine nominative singular plural can have e, which is the more frequent, and a, which is not so frequent. Same thing for the dative and ablative plural. Is the most frequent, and eis is the other one which is rarer. I suggest that you study the first form, which is the one that you will use more often. Last thing that I wanted to talk about is the possessive adjective. So possessive adjectives are always referred to a noun, and of course they indicate possession. So in English, they're kind of easy. We have, for example, my book, your pen, his or her car, and their house. In Latin, they are not too much of a problem because they are declined as a normal first-class adjectives, as all the adjectives that we have found so far. So they will have the classic three endings, word for the masculine, word for the feminine, and one for the neuter. So, for example, meus, mea, meum means my, tuus, tua, tuum means your, SUUS, sua, suum means his, her, or their. And a particular feature of SUUS is that it can be used both for the singular, his, her, and both for the plural, their. And of course, here you recognize that by the context. Then we have noster, nostra, nostrum, our, vester, vestra, vestrum, your, plural, of course. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is the use of SUUS and EIUS. So, in order to say his and her, you can use both the possessive adjective SUUS or the genitive of the third personal pronoun EIUS, of him, of her. So, in English and in modern languages, we don't have such a difference, but in Latin we have the difference that SUUS always refers to the subject of the sentence, while EIUS does not. Here I give two examples. So the first one is with SUUS. So if I say consul mittebat legatum et filium suum, the translation is the consul was sending an ambassador and his son. In modern languages there is no way to understand whether his son is referred to the consul or the ambassador. But Latin, which, as I have said multiple times, is a very precise language, actually has a way to discern that. We know that SUUS is always referred to the subject of the sentence. So this implied that SUUS refers to the consul, and so this means that we are talking about the consul's son. While for the second sentence, consul mittebat legatum et filium eius, the consul was sending an ambassador and his son, in this case, so in English there is no way to understand whether the son is the consuls or the ambassadors, but in Latin there is, because we know that EIUS does not refer to the subject of the sentence, and so we understand that the son of him will be the son of the ambassador and not of the consul. Okay, this is everything for today. Write your questions down, as always, and bring them to class. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in class.